It was a quiet Saturday night, and for once, the house was completely still. I had just finished cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, and I decided to finally sit down on the couch with my blanket and watch something light on television. The glow from the screen filled the living room, and the hum of voices from the show I'd picked made the silence less heavy. I didn't expect the night to be anything out of the ordinary, just me, my blanket, and my favorite cup of tea. But life has a way of turning ordinary nights into something unforgettable. Around half an hour into my show, there was a sudden knock at the front door. It startled me because I wasn't expecting anyone. I live in a safe neighborhood, but it's unusual for someone to drop by so late without notice. My first instinct was to ignore it, but then I heard a familiar voice calling softly, "Aunt Rachel, it's me, Ethan." Ethan, my nephew, was 21. He was in college not too far away, but he didn't visit often since he was always busy with classes, friends, and part-time jobs. The last time we saw each other was during Thanksgiving dinner. For him to show up unannounced at night was enough to raise questions in my mind. I rushed to the door and opened it. There he stood, a little disheveled, holding a backpack slung over one shoulder. His eyes looked tired, but there was relief when he saw me. "Hey, Aunt Rachel. I hope it's okay. I didn't mean to drop in without calling first." "Of course it's okay," I said, pulling him inside quickly. "But you scare me half to death knocking like that. Is everything all right?" He smiled faintly, but didn't answer right away. I could tell he was carrying something heavy on his mind. I guided him into the living room, where the TV was still flickering in the background. He dropped his backpack near the couch and sat down, letting out a long sigh. "I just needed to get away for a bit," he admitted after a pause. "College has been overwhelming. And some stuff with friends. I don't know. I just thought I'd come see you. Being here always feels better." His words tugged at my heart. I remembered him as a little boy who used to spend weekends at my house, building pillow forts in this very living room. Now here he was, a grown man, still finding comfort in this space. I put my hand on his shoulder gently. "I'm glad you came, Ethan. You don't have to go through things alone. You can always come here." For a while, we just sat together watching TV. He didn't say much, and I didn't push him. Sometimes silence was the best medicine. After a few minutes, I went to the kitchen to warm up some leftover pasta, knowing he probably hadn't eaten. Sure enough, when I set the plate in front of him, he smiled gratefully and devoured it quickly. "Thanks, Aunt Rachel. I didn't realize how hungry I was." "You probably don't eat properly at college," I teased lightly, trying to break through his tension. He laughed, and for a brief moment, I saw the boyish smile I remembered so well. When the laughter faded, though, his expression grew serious again. "You ever feel like you're lost? Like everyone else knows what they're doing, and you're just falling behind?" I nodded slowly, taking in his words. "Oh, Ethan. More times than I can count. You know, when I was your age, I had no idea what I wanted. I was working jobs I didn't like, living paycheck to paycheck, and wondering if I'd ever figure it out. It's normal to feel that way. But it doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're growing." His eyes softened as he listened. I needed to hear that. Everyone else just tells me to get it together. But you always make things feel less heavy. That touched me deeply. I didn't realize how much of an impact my words could have on him. We talked for hours that night, about school, friendships, the future, even silly little things. The TV had long gone quiet, and the only sounds were our voices and the occasional hum of cars outside. Eventually, his eyes grew heavy, and I offered him the guest room. As I tucked him in, a memory rushed back of when he was a child, and I used to read him bedtime stories during his sleepovers. Life had changed so much, but in that moment, I realized something. No matter how old he grew, he would always find comfort in knowing someone cared enough to listen. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the house, and I made pancakes, his favorite. Over breakfast, he looked much more at peace. "Thanks for last night, Aunt Rachel. I didn't realize how much I needed that. You reminded me that I'm not as alone as I thought." I smiled warmly. "You're never alone, Ethan. You'll always have me." When he left later that afternoon, he hugged me tighter than he had in years. I watched him walk down the driveway, a new steadiness in his step. My quiet Saturday night had turned into something unexpected, but it reminded me that sometimes the people we love show up at the moments they need us most. And sometimes just being there, listening, caring, is enough to change everything. I sat back on the couch after he left, the house quiet once more, but my heart full. The TV flickered again, but I wasn't really watching. Instead, I thought about how life can surprise us in small ways, how love and connection can appear at the door when we least expect it, and how a simple night can become unforgettable. And in that moment, I was grateful.